Nothing quite hits like a good away day in football, and in today's video we're going to be going through each championship club and counting down what has been their best away day this season. I want to get your guys' thoughts on this one in the comments down below. What for you has been your personal best away day experience this season? But without any further ado, let's jump in. For Birmingham, I've got to go for their bonkers 4-3 away win at Swansea. That away end looked absolutely mental in the 97th minute with Trusty popping up with that winner. Was tempted to pick out that 3-2 away win they had at West Brom this season, which I'm sure was a good one, with Scott Hogan scoring a hat-trick, but nothing quite hits like a 97th minute winner in a 7-goal thriller. Let's not forget that Birmingham were losing this game going into the 90th minute. Djukovic tied it up in the 90th minute, then Trusty popped up with the 97th minute winner, which is outrageous. Blackburn's best away day of the season, I'm going back to that one they had away at Norwich back in December. It felt like a big game for Rovers as they lost 3 of their last 4 games going up into that one. It was a top 6 clash, both teams in the top 6 at that point, and it felt like Blackburn were just having a little bit of a wobble. They managed to return to style with all 3 points in that one. An early on goal from Norwich followed by a Tyree Stolen goal late on wrapped up all 3 points. They did the double over Norwich in terms of the away games, beating them in the cup as well, but that victory at Carrow Road back in December seems an especially sweet one. Blackpool, I'm going to say their 3-3 draw with Burnley all the way back in August, to have come back from 3-1 down up against Lancashire rivals, and the style of which they did, 2 red cards in this one, looked like an absolutely balmy away end. And I mean, not many teams have taken points off Burnley at Turf Moor this season, but Blackpool managed it with that ridiculous 3-3 draw. Bristol City haven't had the best of records on the road this season, but an entertaining 3-2 away win at Blackburn back in September had to have been amongst the most entertaining ones they've had on the road this season. Bristol City went 3-0 up in that game and almost threw it away as Blackburn got 2 goals back into it, but I'm sure that was a banging away end to be in from a Bristol City point of view. With Burnley, of course, I'm going for last night, to be in that away end away at your arch rivals, to be crowned champions, the winning goal to come about in the fashion that it did through Manuel Benson. Yeah, the only thing that could have made that maybe that bit more sweet for Burnley would have been if they were given the full allocation of completely packing out that away end at Ewood Park and given all sort of like the 7,000 that stand holds. That would have been absolutely, you know, carnage when that winner went in. But regardless, the Burnley fans that were lucky enough to get a ticket for that game away at Blackburn, I'm sure will treasure that memory for a lifetime. You know, to be crowned champions away at your local rivals is something that pretty much 99% of football fans will never be able to say that they got the opportunity to see that sort of thing. But Burnley, justifiably so, have been crowned champions, and what a way to do it. Cardiff's best away day of the season, I'm thinking back to their September triumph over Middlesbrough, 3-2, and it seemed to be the point where everything was falling into place for Steve Morison. They went 3-0 up in that game, almost threw it away in the second half, with Middlesbrough getting 2 goals back, but it finally seemed like everything was falling into plan for the manager at that point, only for him to then be sacked later on in the week. It was a bizarre time to be a Cardiff fan, but that away day was a bit of a peak in their season, I'd say. Coventry's best away day of the season, I think, look no further than that one they had away at Bloomfield Road back in March. It looked like an absolutely banging away day from all the videos I've seen of it. Some brilliant limbs. Cardiff went on to win 4-1 in that fixture. Blackpool in itself is very much an enjoyable away day, and especially if you get a result as emphatic as that for Coventry. Just all the videos I've seen, it looked like it was an absolutely booming away end. Huddersfield, I'm going for that away win at Millwall just because it was so unexpected at the time. Millwall had been so strong at home up until that point, and no one was giving Neil Warnock's men much of a chance in that game. Against all the odds, despite all the chances and possession that Millwall had had in that game, Neil Warnock pulled off an absolute masterclass. Danny Ward with a second half winner and snatching it 1-0 away at Millwall. What can beat that? Hull City have had some banging away days this season, but I think I have to go for their 4-4 draw with Sunderland just because of the overall narrative of this one. Don't get me wrong, Hull have had some other great ones, that away win at Cardiff, the away win at Wigan for example, but that 4-4 draw with Sunderland just had a little bit of everything, and in terms of overall entertainment value, probably one of my favourite games of this championship season so far. And the cherry on top is that Ozan Tufan equalised with a 98th minute penalty being the last kick of the ball, and to have been in that away end, I imagine was absolute carnage. Luton's best away of the season, I'm going to say, was Sheffield United away it was a good travelling that Luton brought to that one. They went on to win it 1-0 with Colton Morris scoring the winner in the second half in front of the travelling fans. It doesn't get much better than that, going to a place like Bramall Lane and pulling off that sort of result. Middlesbrough's best away day of the season, I'm going to say Sheffield United away for them as well. It was a result back in February. They beat the Blades 3-1, went down early on in that game with Ollie McBurney sticking a goal away after 5 minutes, but then goals from Akpom and a brace from Cameron Archer turned that one around. And I think that was a game where Borough fans really started to believe that it was feasible that they could potentially catch up to Sheffield United in the league table. Obviously that didn't go on to happen in the end, but the momentum swing after that game and the overall buzz in the crowd just looked absolutely brilliant. Millwall's best away day, I think I'm going to say away at Deepdale. You know, they tore us apart in this one, beat us 4-2. Zion Fleming absolutely ran the show, scoring a hat-trick. Millwall actually went 2-0 up in this game. Preston then managed to get the score back to 2-2, only for Millwall to go on and score a couple more goals, but looked like a very fun away end to be in, I must admit. And yeah, Zion Fleming just one of a kind in that game, unplayable. Norwich's best away day I think has to be at Coventry. Back in January, it was one of Wagner's first games in charge, and this sort of performance and result really gave the Canaries faithful hopes that this would be the sort of football they'd be watching for the remainder of the season. They just beat Preston 4-0 the week before, but this game against Coventry just had a little bit of everything. Norwich were 3-0 up within 20 minutes of this one. Coventry then managed to pull a couple of goals back, only for Norwich to kill this one off in the second half with a slick goal from Kieran Dowell. Just the football on display, and to be in that away end at the time, I'm sure the Norwich fans were full of optimism of what could have been. For my boys Preston, I think it's got to be that 4-1 away victory at Ewood Park. Still tastes so sweet to this day. It was the first game back from the World Cup break, and Preston had a hell of a lot of injuries coming into this game. There wasn't a great feeling within the Preston crowd that, you know, we'd pull off something in this game because of all the players we had out injured, but we turned up like prime Barcelona for that one, sweeping the floor with Blackburn, DJ Evans, even Ben Woodburn absolutely running the show and playing some of the most fluid football we have done all season. QPR, there is no doubt whatsoever, it's Burnley away as the best away day of the season. The fact that no side had gone to Turf Moor and won this season, it would take a desperately out of form QPR side to go ahead and do so. Typical Championship, but we absolutely love it for that reason. I'd also say that sometimes the best away days are the one where you don't have necessarily a massive away crowd backing you, but you've got a few hundred of the real ultras there, and that away end at Burnley looked just bouncing. Reading, I've got to say Hull away. It's relatively slim pickings when it comes to picking the best away day for Reading fans this season, because let's face it, they've not been good on the road this season. But away at Hull back in November last year, it was a 94th minute winner. Andy Carroll coming in with a towering header, hitting the ball onto Longman, who scored the own goal, and yeah, looked like scenes in the away end. Rotherham United got to go for their 1-0 away win at Bramall Lane back in November last year. I think I'm right in saying it was their first win at Sheffield United in over 40 years, but the context of this result was absolutely massive. Sheffield United had just come off the back of beating Burnley 5-2 at home, and everyone was predicting a little bit of a thrashing in this one as well. Rotherham didn't read the script though, upset the apple cart, and 1-0 in a Yorkshire derby. What's not to love? Sheffield United's best away of the season, I'm actually going to go away from the Championship and say it was that bonkers 3-3 draw they had with Wrexham in the FA Cup. Led to that FA Cup replay that obviously they progressed from, went on to beat Tottenham and Blackburn to make it to Wembley, but that 3-3 draw against Wrexham just had a little bit of everything, and I'm sure if you were a Sheffield United fan in the away end for that sort of game, what a unique experience to battle your way back into that game after picking up the red card. John Egan popping up with that 95th minute equaliser, just had a little bit of everything that game. Stoke's best away day of the season, that thumping 5-1 win they had over Sunderland back in March. No one saw that result coming, and it sort of springboarded Stoke into a really good run of form after that as well. But the narrative around that game was fascinating. Alex Neil returning to the Stadium of Light for the first time since leaving the club, and to be honest, Stoke absolutely wiped the floor with Sunderland on that occasion. Sunderland's best away day of the season, do you know what? I think that recent one away at the Hawthorns has to be up there for them, because it's a result which has given that fan base so much hope going into these final few matches of the season that they can make it into the top six. The fact that it was a bit of an unjust penalty they fell behind to, only to turn things around in their second second half. But Sunderland have had some top away days throughout the season. It has to be said that away performance at Reading was absolutely fantastic. The massive crowd and performance they got away at Wigan also up there, I'm sure. Swansea fans, there is nothing on this earth that could possibly top that away day you had at Cardiff this season. To win a local derby with this much tension in the 99th minute in the fashion that they did, it's absolutely unprecedented, and we may never see anything like that in the Championship ever again. Swansea looked like they were going to walk this one from minute one. They were 2-0 up, but from nowhere Cardiff battled their way back into this one and even threatened to go on and win it themselves. But the limbs when that Ben Cabango winner went in the 99th minute were absolutely ridiculous. Like, the things I do as a Preston fan to be in that sort of away end for Preston playing Blackpool and us winning it in that fashion in the 99th minute, it is just what dreams are made of. Watford's best away day, we're going back to that 4-0 win they had at Stoke in October last year. It was Slaven Bilic's first game in charge, and ultimately probably a little bit of a false dawn really, because some of the football Watford played was just so slick in this one. Their quality players really came to the front and they absolutely tore Stoke apart. Ultimately, that brand of football and what was served up then was pretty few and far between after that result, but the feeling Watford would have had in that away end, I'm sure, would have been, you know, fantastic at the time. West Brom, I think I have to go to that 3-2 away win they had at Luton right at the start of the year. Luton were 2-0 up in that game after just 10 minutes, and Luton, as we know, don't lose many football matches. West Brom managed to find a way though. Daryl Dike made it 2-1 before half-time, before goals from Malumbi and Townsend turned that one around in the second half, and for the travelling West Brom fans that were in the stadium, I'm sure that was some memory. Finishing it off with Wigan's best away day of the season, I actually think that one they had right at the start against Birmingham has to be up there. They'd drawn their first 3 matches of the season. They then went away at Birmingham. Bennett was sent off after just 10 minutes and it was a backs against the wall sort of job. They definitely had to ride their luck at times throughout that match, but Broadhead popping up with their 82nd minute winner after a really slick move on the counter-attack, and against all odds pulled off a win, and there was still quite a bit of optimism in the air, it felt like, at Wigan at that stage of the season on the back of that result. Well guys, there we have it. There was for me each Championship club's best away day of the season. Would you agree with my selections? Get your thoughts down below. Has there been a better away end that you yourself have experienced this season? Make sure to get those stories down below. If you did enjoy them, make sure to leave a like and do stick around and subscribe for some regular Championship content. But other than that, thanks for watching and I'll see you all in the next one.